Yes, great. From nodding heads. That's wonderful.
Can we?
So good morning, and if you are here to explore doing business in Turkey, you're in the right place, in the right space. There's going to be a quick introduction and welcome from myself and the wonderful Chris Gaunt, chairman of the British Chamber in Turkey, and then the session is going to move on to the wonderful Tibet, sharing, connecting east with west, doing business in Turkey, why Turkey is such a wonderful place and space. And then we've got one of the key core partners, a board member from the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey, Elvan, who's going to talk us through some of the practicalities that you may need to consider. We're going to have a bit of a questions and answers session, and then we'll sort of have a bit of a session review, identify any next steps, and move on. Is that okay?
Great.
Yeah, super.
Great, thank you. So what are the aims of this session? As you can probably gather from my approach, it's relatively relaxed. It's, I wouldn't say it's informal, but ideally it's all about sharing and giving you insight, the strengths and opportunities doing business in Turkey. And that's twofold. So it's not just simply you establishing a presence in Turkey, but considering partners and partnerships with existing businesses in Turkey. So we are all aware of the significant challenges that are impacting organizations globally, including costs and supply chain and such like. And certainly over the last couple of years, through and in partnership with the Chris and the team over there, we've started to identify opportunities around moving the supply chain. So yes, of course, China remains the manufacturing center, but from a quality standard and from a consistency, and indeed from a closer to the UK perspective, we've been exploring and encouraging people to look at Turkey, and those that have been very pleasantly surprised. There'll be a summary on how to do business in Turkey, and then our partnership that we have developed, a meaningful one, the SME Centre of Excellence here in the north of England and the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey. What can we do in partnership with key core stakeholders? So we have the Department for International Trade here. So this isn't about competition, it's about collaboration. And what can we do to support you? Session's going to be recorded, and please use the chat facility for questions. And once again, encouraging everybody to drop in who they are so that it's captured, and any follow-up activity. Chris, over to you, please.
Okay, right. Well, thank you, Ammar, and yeah, I'm delighted that we've finally got this webinar or Zoom meeting off the ground. I mean, it's important that we talk to the network up in the northeast, and thanks to Ammar for putting this together. I mean, we do see big opportunities in the northeast for both UK companies who are looking to either invest or export to Turkey and the region, and we also, because we are now bilateral, I won't go into why, because we've got a DIT man on the program. But yeah, I mean, so we are bilateral as well now, and we have a number of interested Turkish companies who are now looking to engage with UK both as investors and exporters, and we will be sharing some opportunities that could be of interest to the northeast and to Ammar and his network as we go forward. So it's a pleasure to be with you today, and I mean, just a little bit of background. I mean, I'll let Tibet talk about it, but we are one of the oldest chambers in the overseas network, and we have been the subcontractor to DIT up until March 2022. We still have a relationship with DIT. We are on their referral list, so we do actually get inquiries coming our way, particularly for B2B services from DIT. We also have a broader reach across the region. So it's not just Turkey we talk about the region in terms of opportunities. And the region that we are part of is what we call the ECAN region, so it's Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And the fledgling chambers that are now being created in countries like Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan and Georgia, we are also supporting them as well from a hub here in Istanbul. So we have quite an extensive network, and we are looking to bring more UK companies to Turkey, and particularly from the length and breadth of UK. And I know, talking to Ammar over a number of months now, probably more than a year, that the Northeast definitely has a lot of potential, both as an interested party for Turkey and also for Turkish companies who are looking to enter the UK market. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to hand over to Tibet, who will then talk you through our presentation.
Apologies, Chris, I was just going to briefly add the fact that we have representatives from the whole of the north of England, not just the northeast, and that myself and my team based here we are based in the northeast, but we cover the whole of the north of England, and we have an internationalization program that we're going to be delivering, complementing, working in partnership with the All Parliamentary Party Group for BAME Business, DIT, and obviously yourselves. So there's quite a lot of activity planned. As a follow-up from here, we can touch upon that if it comes up in the questions, as in what next, but I just felt it appropriate to mention that.
No, that's fine, Ammar, and we welcome that. I mean, we have worked with the Northern Powerhouse before, and we still have connections there. And we do work with all the big chambers across the north, from Manchester, Liverpool, across to Leeds, and Chamber International based in Bradford, Hull and Humber, and the Northeast Chamber. So I welcome that, and the more scope we can have, I think the more potential we can start to realise. So really appreciate the rest, because I'm from the north of England. You've probably noticed from my little bit of accent that I've still got left. I'm from Wakefield in Yorkshire, originally, many years ago. So I've got quite a passion for the north.
Excellent. Okay, so maybe I can start. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm going to start my presentation, but before I do that, my name is Tibet Kara. I am the Secretary General at British Chamber of Commerce based in Istanbul. I have many slides here, but don't get scared. I'm not going to talk to all of them. They're quite busy. They are for you to have as a reference if you want to look at it at later. But what I really want you to remember out of this presentation is following 3 positive messages. This is what we want to leave you with. First one is, Turkey is one of the largest markets in the world, but it's not just the domestic market. It has a perfect strategic location, so it's a perfect business hub, and it can be used as a springboard for UK companies to reach other markets in the region. And like Chris said, we also have access as British Chamber to some of the countries in the regions like Azerbaijan and Georgia. Second point is, again, quite important. And Turkey and UK are significant trade partners, and there's significant trade potential. There's more to explore there. And Turkey offers diverse range of opportunities for UK companies in many sectors. And like Ammar said, as well as becoming a very important global supply chain provider. We're receiving a lot of inquiries from UK companies for finding sourcing partners in Turkey. So that's a very important point for you to consider when you look at the Turkey. And the third one is, like Ammar said, when you think of Turkey, we are the first partner of choice for you. We are one of the oldest chambers, like Chris said, and we have the sort of best insights here. Collectively, with highly skilled and experienced team, we also have influential board members, which we also have an example today. So we represent multiple skill sets and diverse capabilities. Sorry, there's a little noise in the background, so we're a little distracted. Hope you're not hearing it all. If I excuse myself, I'm just going to go and
just to add a bit more context to Turkey as a hub. I mean, if you've looked at my profile, I mean, I worked for Coca-Cola for almost 20 years in this part of the world. I set up the Coca-Cola operations in Central Asia back in the 90s, so I know this part of the world extremely well. And if you look at Turkey as a hub, then I mean, Coca-Cola, for example, is the hub for 90 countries. And that covers all non-EU Europe, Turkey obviously, Central Asia, across to the Middle East, Africa, and as far afield as India and Pakistan. And if you also compare that with Unilever and Procter & Gamble and Microsoft and Facebook, they're all hubbed here when you start to look east. And that's another example of how important Turkey is when it comes to global players who are looking to operate in this part of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And just we talked about the time zone, but just a couple of reminders about Turkey. It's a large country. It's actually, I was checking this morning, it's 4 times as big as the UK, if I'm not wrong. And you can see from the map, really, we are the bridge between Asia and Europe, and we have quite important neighbors. They always cause problems for some reason, but yeah. One of the main thing, and I think this is what makes Turkey dynamic, is our youngest and fastest growing population. So we have around 85 million population, but half of it is almost under 30. So that makes us quite a dynamic nation. If we look at the economy, so that's, the whole world is going through trouble, and also Turkey is right now suffering from economic crisis. But I can tell you from my, old age, that Turkish economy is always characterized by boom and bust since the 90s. And no economic crisis lasted more than 18 months in this country. Turkish economy always seems to bounce back. And resilience, really the key perfect word to describe both Turkish economy and Turkish people. We're used to crisis. We grew up with crisis, and we somehow, get out of crisis. And I think there is an inherent confidence and belief that Turkey will muddle through the crisis. And if you actually look at the figures, there is right now positive growth compared to 2020, and some of the figures are improving. The tourist numbers went up this year. We received around 35 million tourists. That really helped our current account deficit. And also, by 2025, we're expecting 50 million tourists. So that's helping. And how, I won't go into politics, but the Russia and Ukraine crisis and how we handled it sort of helped also some of the situation. But if we look at the general trade figures, due to the energy dependency, because we import most of our energy, so that's why we always have current account deficits, and this is around 46 million currently. But that's always the case for us, and also a lot of exports have like import component to it, but due to all that, exports are still increasing. Exporters have orders filled for the next 24 months. So they're doing really well. So export figures are increased again compared to 2020. So UK, like we said, is really important trading partner for us. It's the third largest export partner, quite significant share of our exports. And we are mainly exporting to Europe. So Europe is really important for us. And we import from China, Russia, mainly gas, and Europe and US and Italy. And most of you be aware that Turkish contracting company is quite famous and doing really well. We are actually the third largest after China and the US. And perhaps this is not new information, but we have custom unions with the European Union and 23 active free trade agreements. And we luckily signed an FTA with the UK January 2021.
And just on the FTA there, within that FTA, there is a commitment to renegotiate the free trade agreement, but within the 2 years from 2021. So that is beginning about now. The objective of that negotiation will be to enhance the free trade agreement, to bring more sectors into the agreement, and create and strengthen a stronger trading relationship with Turkey. So that is a commitment from both the Turkish and the UK government. We had Amanda Brooks here, who's responsible for negotiating free trade agreements globally, and she's starting to put together a framework whereby that enhanced negotiation will start.
Okay, so if we look at the export figures, again, what Turkey exports mostly is commercial vehicles, actually. So we have some of the largest manufacturers here, and they're doing really well in terms of exports. Again, machinery, mechanical, iron and steel, textile is a big item, and a lot of exports goes to UK. And what we import, again, machinery, iron and steel, electronic equipment, and oils and coal. So in terms of exports, again, we actually export more in services and import less. So that's tourism, I think, and that's the figure changing. So I won't, talk to all of these figures again.
I mean, what is interesting is before COVID, we had £19 billion worth of bilateral trade with Turkey. And obviously through COVID, that dropped considerably down to about 14 billion. But today we've caught up, and we're now getting back to the numbers that we had pre-COVID. So we're almost hitting 19 billion again.
Yeah, that's the next slide. Chris is ahead of
I'm ahead of you anyway.
But just in the previous slides, I want to show you, like I mentioned, Turkey and UK trade is really diverse and covers wide range of sectors. And as BCCT, actually we actively worked on all of these sectors. We helped small to medium enterprises in all of those sectors. Our trade team has done various projects in all of these sectors. So I don't know, the profile of our audience, but we are knowledgeable and experienced on all of these.
I mean,
sectors.
in construction and infrastructure, UK export finance play a big role. Among the countries around the world where there are UKEF representatives, we have one in Turkey, who's responsible for the region, and UKEF have transacted a number of very large projects, not just in Turkey, but with Turkish construction companies, across the region. And that is a big game changer in terms of the investment opportunities for UK in Turkey.
And like Chris was talking about the bilateral trade, again, bilateral trade reached the 19 billion figure for the last 3 quarters up to 2022. And it's in favor of Turkey. So Turkey actually exports more to UK. And that's actually an opportunity. Chris, did you want to repeat what you told
Well, yes, I mean,
earlier?
in terms of supply chain, as Tibet mentioned earlier, we are seeing a move away from Southeast Asia for various reasons. COVID, I think, started that in terms of trust and transparency. And, as we're all aware, lots of UK companies are looking to onshore. That's not always possible, but Turkey does tick a lot of boxes in terms of having the resources, the capability to produce on behalf of UK companies. And the benefits are that it's only 3.5 hours away from UK, and the quality is extremely high, and they've got the capacity. And it definitely is a country that is attracting a lot of attention in terms of restructuring supply chains.
Again, for total exports in goods, Turkey, type 5 goods that UK exports is mechanical products are big numbers.
We need to move on.
Okay, all right. I'll actually move on to Okay, so the key industries for Turkey, agriculture plays a significant role in our industry structure. After industry and services, services actually is taking a big share on the GDP. So services sector is actually quite important for Turkey. And like I mentioned, tourism is a big income stream. And main industrial activities, mainly manufacturing, mainly with the automotive and textile sectors. And that's, you can actually see in the export figures, where we export mostly. And other leading sectors include iron and steel, chemicals, cement, food processing.
Yeah. I mean, just to, before we go on to that, the areas that we're looking at this moment in time and what we're focusing on going forward are very much on agri-tech, fintech. So technology is playing a major role in the growth opportunities here. And we've also started to create a strong platform in sustainability and ESG. We had a large conference 2 weeks ago on ESG and sustainability in person here in Istanbul. And that was very well attended. And there's lots of capability and interest now in Turkey on sustainability and ESG. And we've now created a group that's supporting Turkish companies in providing the technology that they require to become compliant and be able to qualify and be registered as a green organisation. So we're looking to UK to provide that level of technology that can help Turkish companies to acquire their green certification. I don't know whether you're aware, but the European Green Strategy, Turkey is also involved and has to be compliant with the European Green Strategy. It still has some catch up to do, but lots of the regions, regional chambers in Turkey, Turkish chambers, are now looking for companies that can provide the consultancy and technology that can help them progress to having green certification.
Yeah, if you know any of you has capability in that area, please let us know, because we are actually actively seeking that kind of capability from UK. And the easiest part of our presentation is talking about ourselves. Like, we are the second oldest overseas international chamber after France. So we are 135 years old. We're not the oldest in Turkey. Italians and French were set up 2 years before us, but we were the third oldest in Turkey as well. So has a long history as a chamber. So we have great reputation both domestically and internationally. And our members, you know, are the top companies, top UK companies, both in UK and from Turkey. And like I said, we deliver business services for UK exporters and investors in Turkey. And our flagship events are quite famous. We actually have people booking their holidays according to our summer garden party, which attracts like around 1,000 people. So hope you may be able to attend to one of them at one point. And we have around 300 members, and we have access to over 800 businesses through our partnership. I'll show you some of them are here, are shown. They are the 14 largest Turkish chambers. They are the largest one. We all have MOUs with them, and they have around 800 businesses that they represent. We also have a large database of our own, around 12,000 companies. So we have quite a wide network. We also have MOUs with the British chambers, and one of them is here, SME Center of Excellence. And we try to tap into the UK market through them. So just briefly going over our services, as apart from the B2B services, the business support services, we also provide event management services for UK or Turkish companies. And you know, we have active business support services. We find distributors for you, partners, joint venture partners. We identify business contacts, arrange meetings, accompany meetings. So, you know, we are here to help you for any kind of business requires. And we have a big referral network that we can also give you guidance and refer whenever you need it. So just a couple of projects that we've done. Yeah, and I'm going to move very quickly. This is, you know, we created these fact sheets doing business in Turkey for DIT, and it's actually advertised on their website, so you can access them. And it covers a wide range of areas, from as simple as attending trade shows to setting up in Turkey. And so I'm going to go through these slides very quickly and leave time for Elvan and maybe just quickly show you our team. So we have a highly skilled and experienced large team here who can help you. And some of the names as our board members, like the CEO of Koç Holding and the former chairman of TÜSİAD, and some really key influential people are board members, as well as Elvan Hanım from our control board. I hand it to you, Elvan Hanım, and I thank you all for listening. So I'll stop sharing. Where is my buttons? Maybe you can start sharing, Elvan Hanım, and then I can stop. You can stop me. Where is the button to stop sharing? I can't. Okay, sorry. I'm stopping. Over to you, Elvan Hanım. You're on mute.
Okay. Can you hear me well?
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. So, dear colleagues, dear audience, welcome to Turkey. Turkey has a very investment-friendly environment. If you can get the right professional advice, actually, Turkey is one of the safest countries to invest. Turkish tax and civil laws are adapted from German and Swiss laws. So, on the process of becoming a member of EU, Turkey had made many reforms at the regulations with respect to accounting, tax laws, and commercial code. Also, Turkey has adopted IFRS and OECD transfer pricing regulations. So without boring you, which I have promised to Tibet, I will give you a bit of information on how to set up a company in Turkey and also basic accounting tax regulations. Okay, so if we look at the type of companies that you can incorporate in Turkey, you can incorporate either a limited liable company or a joint stock company in Turkey. There is no big difference between the two types of companies. The only thing is that the joint stock companies are eligible for insurance, banking, and big manufacturing companies, while limited liable companies is more for startup businesses. The setup process is quite easy. You can incorporate the company in 1 week in Turkey if the necessary documentation are provided. Capital requirement for the limited liable company is only 10,000 Turkish lira, and it's around $1,000, and for the joint stock company, it's 50,000 Turkish lira. Resident, if you stay in Turkey more than 180 days, Turkish government has also the right to tax you. But if you stay in Turkey less than 183 days, then you will be taxed in your home country. Foreign exchange control. Turkey has a very liberal foreign exchange control policy. So if the necessary documents are presented to the bank, invoices, loan documents, dividend transfer documents, all the foreign exchange transactions are liberal and free to be made. Corporate tax. We have a flat corporate tax of 23%, but for the next year, it will be down to 20%. And the profit is taxed over the net profit. There's a quarterly paid corporate tax. Dividend to non-resident companies. If you have a company in Turkey and want to distribute dividend, there's only a 10% dividend tax. So some of the withholding tax rates for royalties, dividends, interest, and construction in progress. Major indirect taxes are value-added tax, which is 18%. And stamp tax, which is almost 1%. So the declaration due date, salary, we have a gross minimum salary of 5,000 Turkish lira. The income tax rates varies between 15 to 40%. We have the social security taxes from employment and employee. The severance tax, if you want to terminate the employment contract, you need to pay to the colleague 1 month of salary, and the maximum cap is 10,000 Turkish lira. Transfer pricing, Turkey has adopted the OECD transfer pricing regulations. So whatever transfer pricing regulations being used in all the Europe and worldwide is also being used in Turkey. If you want to sell anything through internet and you don't have a company in Turkey, there's a 15% withholding tax. Audit thresholds, your company will only be subject to audit if you have the 3 thresholds here. Net assets 35 million, sales 70 million, and exceeding, of course, employees 175 million and more. Otherwise, your company in Turkey will not be subject to audit. Invoicing, we started using e-invoicing and e-ledger in Turkey. VAT filing, this is one of the most asked questions. If you are an electronic service provider and you want to do business in Turkey, you need to file VAT. Payment of taxes will be done over the government banks. And resource utilization fund, the last thing, if you give a loan to your Turkish company, you need to pay a resource utilization fund at these rates. Again, if you stay, this is about territorially, if you stay in Turkey less than 180 days, and you don't need to pay tax in Turkey according to the bilateral treaty. This is basically Ammar all that I can say, but of course, I just wanted to give a brief overview, not to bore the audience, but if any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Elvan, and just to emphasise that Crow is also a UK company with an office here. That so you can work through both ends of the company, either in UK or in Turkey. And just to emphasise again, that doing business in Turkey, forget the politics, but doing business in Turkey is very easy to do, and with the extensive knowledge of our board members, we try and reduce the risk to any UK company looking to enter the market by utilising the knowledge and experience of our board members and our network.
Thank you, Chris.
And just to emphasize all of those points, certainly from my perspective, having had first-hand of experience of meeting and the pleasure of being in Turkey and experiencing Turkey, it's not just about the professional aspect and consideration, the personal consideration. It is a very liberal, inviting, proud, passionate country that connects sort of ultimately literally the west to the east. It's always been that gateway, hasn't it, Chris?
No, absolutely. And anybody that's been to Istanbul and visited the Grand Bazaar or Kapalı Çarşı in Turkish, it's now a tourist destination, but historically it's a trading area in Istanbul, where the textiles and the spices and other commodities were traded from India and China into Europe. So that tradition and that history is still there, and you will find that lots of Turkish companies are very entrepreneurial and very accommodating, and it's part of our job and our relationship with the SME and the network in the north of England to ensure that we do guide you on the right path and ensure that your journey into Turkey is as risk-free as we can make it.
Well, thank you. And it was really helpful, Elvan, to see the process, the illustration, and ultimately, I suppose anybody looking to operate in Turkey, the best thing they can do is speak to the right people with the right support, right? So having the chamber and having Crow and various other partners as part of that network would help accelerate the the sort of setup and knowledge and understanding. One of the things I always say is use the experts to do the expert activity, and you focus on what you're good at. Is something that we always encourage. Questions. I know that we've got a few questions from a few people who sort of forwarded them on to us and sadly couldn't be here. So we have some questions, but I'll open up the floor first and foremost.
Any questions?
Great. I think we've told everyone everything they need to know. They're experts, is what they are. No, it was really helpful to get some of the background from people attending and things like that in the chat. From a questions perspective, it's probably a bit more detailed, Chris, Tibet, in there's some strengths that we have in the north and the northeast in particular, and Tees Valley. And it's, you mentioned some of those opportunity areas from an expansion perspective. Tibet, do you mind just sort of sharing a little bit more on those growth areas within Turkey, please?
I mean, I can give you examples. I mean, from the inquiries that we are receiving, it's right now, we receive inquiries into a lot manufacturing sectors, plastics components, and for textiles again, so we get a lot of inquiries for sourcing from Turkey in textile sector. And for some of the like health sector inquiries also we get, because we also have good manufacturing in that area. So it's mainly manufacturing and textile currently in terms of sourcing. But in terms of export opportunities, it again ranges from like pipes for the sewage canals, for example, to franchising companies, like, they want to open actually here at Galata Port. One of the brand is looking into getting into the market. Perhaps it's good time to, become an entrepreneur, because some of the rental costs went down. So it's good opportunity. So it really varies in terms of type of inquiries that we receive. We perhaps didn't mention in the presentation, we right now also service other country organizations, companies, mainly from Commonwealth countries like Ireland. I was going to talk to you about success stories. Like we actually have an education delegation coming in, like 16 universities and language schools from Ireland, visiting actually this weekend, and they'll be visiting Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. So we've been organizing networking events and B2B meetings with the education agents in Turkey. And that's a repeat event, so they're planning to come here regularly. And so we've done various projects for some Irish companies in egtech technologies, again. And like Chris was saying, fintech is an area where UK is interested in exploring the opportunities here. So it ranges, and we have some Australian companies that we are helping in cosmetics, for example, or it's some technology into helping the Marmara Sea mucilage problem. So it's a broad range, like, you know, and we're really pleased, actually. It's coming from all sorts of sources. And we were talking to a UK company in doing sports services, Red Strike, like maybe shouldn't be giving names, but yeah, so it's ranges in different sectors.
It's I mean, education's a big opportunity, and you know, I mean, you've got some good universities, you know, in the north, and yeah, we're more than happy to you know, support them here in Turkey, and we have talked about bringing a mission over. Unfortunately, the British Council are no longer doing missions, and are no longer doing events. I think that's global. I don't think that's unique to Turkey, but I think we can fill that gap in putting on educational events for you know, the education institutions in the north of England.
And like we were saying also, we now help, or we mentioned that we have Turkish companies wanting to export to UK. So we're planning to bring a delegation in textile sector to UK sometime either in April or in September. And it will be in main 2 cities. The details aren't yet figured out. It's work in progress. It's going to be either London and Manchester as 2 cities, but we would love to work with you also on that, you know, for matchmaking the events. So that's, you know, one sector that we are focusing because we are receiving a lot of interest. But another sector, like Chris was saying, in sustainability and the green labeling, again, we are actively seeking capability from UK now for green certification and green labeling. So any companies who have capability, consultancy, experience in getting companies ready for you know, meeting the standards for green certification is very well welcome. We're trying to create a directory of companies' capabilities. So we will welcome names for that directory, and we'll be happy to talk to you more about that.
I don't know whether, you know, there's any interest in Bitcoin and, you know, this new wave. I mean, we're also working with a large Turkish company who are probably the biggest in Europe, called BTC Turk. They're also into fintech as well, and they're moving very quickly, and they're probably, you know, one of the most reputable organizations in that sector. And you know, if there's any interest in the north of England in you know, engaging with this company, I mean, we're quite happy to you know, introduce them, but they are looking at UK as another market that they would be interested in investing in.
And one company, or, you know, one area I have to mention, and please remember this, Ammar, we have a couple of hazelnut producers wanting to export to UK. So they're really, you know, sort of upper end, you know, like organic and, you know, well packaged, could be, you know, sort of marketed at upper end stores. So some hazelnut producers are desperately looking to enter to UK.
Yeah, looking for distributors. I mean, the other thing, I mean, we, you know, when we look at the news in UK and the, you know, the you know, inflation and the cost of living and, you know, basic commodity products like you know, pasta and rice and other things, you know, increasing threefold or fourfold. I mean, we have a very large pasta manufacturer in Turkey, probably one of the, you know, the biggest suppliers to Europe and the Middle East, and because of the Turkish lira being devalued, their prices are very competitive. So if there's anybody interested in sort of commodity food products, then Turkey has a lot to offer in finding opportunities in the UK. So as I say, it's a broad mix of opportunities that we've talked about, but going forward, I mean, the areas that we'll be looking for are UK companies that can bring added value to Turkish companies, because they want to move up the value chain in terms of what they produce and what expertise they have. And that's a bigger picture, but it's something that we want to keep on the radar. And whether it be advanced engineering, whether it be technology advancements and capability sharing, we're very interested in talking to UK companies in that sector. Okay.
Thank you for that, Chris. That was really helpful. There is a question there from Phil Andrew. Phil, whether there is a competitive internal energy market. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, internal energy.
Yeah, sorry, that's just put a brief question on there. I was just interested. I work for a business consultancy in the northeast of England, and we operate in a number of European countries. And I was just querying whether there was a market in Turkey for energy consultancy. Do businesses tend to move through different suppliers using different European suppliers, or is it a nationalized industry?
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, in terms of renewables, are we talking renewables or just generally?
Mainly the energy suppliers themselves. So you've got a lot of the Western European and also the likes of, probably a bad name, but Gazprom, Total, Engie operating across Europe. Are they the same suppliers within Turkey?
Yeah, there are private suppliers. There's no doubt about that.
It is. Yeah, actually, it is now commercialized. Companies like Sabancı has, like, for example, maybe you heard of Enerjisa.
Yes.
And yeah, so that actually area is quite commercialized now.
Koç Group also.
Yeah.
They're the biggest.
We can talk to you about this, Phil, because there is actually a market. I mean, energy is a major issue for us. It's one of our pain points, and that sector is quite dynamic. I mean, it's suffering right now because the government is controlling the prices, but so they actually need help and consultancy. And we have good contacts in that sector. So let's talk to you more about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. No, thank you. I am conscious of time. I appreciate we may have started a couple of minutes early, but I always like to get finished on time because naturally people have other things to get to and go to as we shoehorn things in. Philip, did you want to say anything from a DI King perspective? Obviously, you're here observing, but one of the things that we've talked about regionally is a formal established group to do business with Turkey that we're now going to look to set up, as in more formally and work with our key critical partner in Turkey, the British Chamber of Commerce, and Chris and the team there. Anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, thanks, Ammar. And just from my point of view, just to say I've really enjoyed it. It's been some really interesting points made. All I'd probably add, just for attendees who may or may not be aware, so with Department for International Trade, if anyone here is obviously considering exporting to the Turkish market or implementing a strategy in which to export to Turkey, myself, I'm based in the northeast, but I'll have colleagues throughout the north, so whether it is Yorkshire, northwest, what we're able to do is provide advice and consultation towards your aims in the Turkish market. We can also provide assistance currently through funding, so something I can delve into deeper conversation if anyone would like to follow up. If any businesses, in a way will look to be enabled to travel to the market in order to grow the network and enhance the knowledge of the market, enhance the potential to export to the market. There's financial assistance there. Obviously we've got our direct advice, as I say, and we've got our wider team as well in Turkey. So as well as ourselves on the ground in the UK and Department of International Trade, and work with obviously the partners which is going to be involved within this country group, we do have our dedicated Department for International Trade team based in Turkey as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, Phil, I need to cut you short there. The point that I was going to try and make is some of that funding can be used to commission, for example, our partners at the Chamber of Commerce in Turkey to use their expertise. I think that's the critical point here. We've got wonderful people on the ground. They are there, and we're just trying to collaborate. Finally, from me, because I noticed people are dropping off, you know, Diana's got this event around a regional opportunity on exporting. We've got this program that we're organizing with Teesside, Grow Tees Valley, and the potential, our ambition with that is to take a trade visit to Turkey in partnership and collaboration with our partners in Turkey, Chris and Tibet and the team. So we've ran over 1 minute, so I apologize about that. Chris, Tibet, did you want to say anything further?
I just want to make everybody aware that this is the first step. Yeah. To make you more aware of what's on offer, and we will be following up on this, with more detail. And I will be talking to Ammar about having a mission to the north, and that's something that I think is very important to get people face to face. It can't all be done digitally, particularly for SMEs. I know DIT want to digitalize everything, but I'm not sure that's going to help SMEs. As I say, we do work very closely with DIT, but our focus is on SMEs, and they need the most help. We want to work on that and start to develop that in 2023. So you will be seeing more of us in your part of the world.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much. Before we go, I just always like to capture the moment and take what I call a selfie. So could I encourage anyone and everyone to smile intently at the camera when I go 3, 2, 1. And if anyone's not on camera, please turn on your camera and so that we can capture all of us together in this wonderful moment. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Big smiles at the camera. Wonderful. Thank you ever so much.